Casual here. It has been 2.5 years since our last Borderlands fix, so Wonderlands can't come quickly enough. But wait a second. Spells, action skills on a short cooldown, goblins, trolls and shrooms. This is not Borderlands as we know it. So sit down, crack open a beer and get comfortable as we look at whether you should play Tiny Tina's Wonderland. Let's get into it. One of the issues with Borderlands 3 was that its story wasn't very good, with forced and predictable plot twists and an unlikable cast that included Ava, the most annoying character Gearbox have ever created. And they tried hard. For many people, the incentive for killing Tyrene and Troy Calypso was more to remove their drivel from the game than it was to reach the story's conclusion. The best patch Gearbox never did was a mute button for them. The same is not true about Tiny Tina's assault on Dragon Keep, which featured a poignant tale of a young, slightly insane girl getting over the loss of a beloved friend and moving on. Or more likely, blowing shit up. I'm hopeful that we will see a return to this deeper and endearing storytelling in Wonderlands, with NPCs that we want on our side, a villain that we love to hate, and heroes that are flawed and above all human. Gearbox have engaged some fantastic voice actors in Ashley Birch, who will play Tina again, Will Arnett, Andy Samberg and Wanda Sykes, so if they get this right, this could be a real return to form. And based on the 23 minutes of footage already released, my initial impressions are okay, which is an improvement. The Dragon Lord doesn't seem as obnoxious as the Calypso twins and is even a little bit reminiscent of the greatest villain of all time, Handsome Jack. The other thing that needs to be addressed is the poor mission design, which has always been go here, get that and bring it here. Yes, in an FPS it can be tough to bring more complex ideas to life, but the puzzle aspects introduced into Destiny and the exploration that so many games now have just makes them so much more compelling. And that's where the overworld in Wonderlands might come in, as it adds optional zones with their own plot lines, as well as plenty of hidden treasures and collectibles to find. I think that this is a great addition to the game, as well as making the whole world more connected. This may also address one of the other criticisms of the Borderlands series, its static worlds. With random encounters in the overworld, it may feel more alive, or just annoying, but we are also getting an evolving world, or at least some aspects of it. Izzy's Fizzies, which plays the role of Sanctuary in Wonderlands, will evolve based on our actions in game. Possibly only cosmetic, but it does help to bring the world to life just a little bit. Creating an avatar can be a lot of fun. It is an opportunity to create a model of yourself in game.
Oh, that looks kind of good. Bro, is that it?
To be something you aspire to be, or to let your imagination run wild. This has been an area where previous Borderlands have fallen flat, as they forced us into fixed character models. In Wonderlands we can finally be the fate maker we want to be, with character models being independent of classes. Matt Cox, creative director, stated that you can completely customise your look in your class, and you're not tied to a specific bespoke character. And just yesterday we received more news on this through a developer diary. Rather than the skins that have been a staple of previous Borderlands games, we will now be able to select the features of our avatar. Eyes, ears, facial hair, tattoos, makeup and so on. On top of that, Gearbox are introducing the slider overdrive option, which will allow our imagination to run riot, with realism no longer optional. If you want eyes on the side of your head to see enemies behind you better, go for it. It's purely a cosmetic, so please don't complain about that afterwards. No mention of a boob slider though, which could be an issue. In addition to physical features, we will be able to select our avatar's personality, which will impact how they will react to dialogue and battle. The developers also clarified how our hero attributes, strength, dexterity, intelligence, wisdom, constitution and attunement, will impact the gameplay. This is a great new feature which will support build creation even more. Speaking of which, I will admit it, I am a build freak. I love creating and trying out different builds. Builds have always been a strength of the Borderlands game, with the 3 class trees allowing for near endless variety. With Wonderlands we are only getting 2 class trees, and so you could be forgiven for thinking that build diversity will be less. Well, that's where you would be wrong, as Gearbox are introducing a multi-class system, allowing you to combine a primary and secondary class, picking the parts you like best from both, as well as gaining access to each class's passive ability. Their class feat. With 6 classes already announced, this opens up the game to a whole host of different potential builds. Gearbox have stated that going deep into a class will open up more sections and more powerful effects, so it'll be interesting to see whether hybrid builds are viable compared to builds more focused on a single class, but I am genuinely excited to try all of the potential combinations out. Borderlands games are all about the guns. Lots of them. Getting upgrades is exciting and addictive, even more so when you see that glowing orange of a legendary item, but for me I'm looking for something more than just a gunfight, and Wonderlands is looking to deliver this with the new spell system. The spell system is available to all classes, opening up build diversity even more. Spells come in one of 4 types defined by their makers, similar in some respects to weapon manufacturers. Conjurer are your simple one-click cast spells. Arkham focus on spells to keep going as long as you hold the trigger down. Weird Weaver makes repeating cast magic, and Miraculum delivers self-target spells, like protective shields. On top of all this, each spell takes a different form, like fireballs, ice spikes, meteors, and so on. Add on to this unique class active skills, including melee attacks, single target, AoE, and companions, and we have the potential for a combat system for any playstyle. And with this being layered onto what was great gunplay in Borderlands 3, this has the potential to be a really fun and addictive combat system. The humour in Borderlands 3 at best missed the mark and regularly veered towards the cringeworthy. It just wasn't funny, and it never stopped, ever. A bit like this video. I have to be honest that this is one of the things that really worries me most for this game. The uncut footage from IGN didn't raise massive red flags, but it was a very small sample, and the inclusion of Butt Stallion as an NPC makes me very worried indeed. These sort of jokes haven't been funny for a very long time, certainly for anyone over 12 years old. So if this is a sticking point for you, I would wait for the reviews to come out post-launch before diving in here. If you come from a Division, Destiny or Outriders background, then jumping into a D&D fantasy setting with cartoon-like graphics can be a little jarring. Personally, I was impressed with the level of detail in the graphics of Borderlands 3, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do with Wonderlands. But to be fair, if you really don't like the Borderlands art style or fantasy theme, then I just don't think that this game will be for you. One area that was conspicuous by its absence from the release footage was the UI, which in previous Borderlands games can only be described as awful. And that is worrying, as we have to be concerned that they aren't showing it, because it is still crap. For me, the £500 gorilla in the room remains the writing and humour in the Borderlands series, and if Gearbox can get this right. The other changes they are making have polished an already good game, and just on the basis of that, I think you should check it out. If you want to find out more about Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, then check out this video here. Until next time, casual out.